Welcome to the Spa Girls podcast, the self-publishing podcast for authors. You're in the right place for the best writing, marketing, and publishing advice, plus interviews with industry experts and best-selling authors. I'm Cheryl Phipps.
I'm Shah Barrett.
I'm Wendy Vella.
And I'm Trudy J. Welcome to everyone, and welcome to Stacia Stark, who we have on today. Hello.
Hey, Stacia.
Welcome.
Yay.
It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Stacia, we love it because she's actually a Kiwi, but she's living in the States these days, and she is also a amazing romantasy author. So I don't think we've had a romantasy author on before. So this is going to be awesome. We're going to get all the details. But first, I'm going to read out your bio, and then we'll get into it. Okay, so Stacia Stark is an Amazon #1 best-selling author of romantasy filled with found families, self-reliant heroines, and brooding, grumpy heroes, like my favorite kind. Her books have been translated into more than 15 languages. Her Kingdom of Lies series was nominated twice for Goodreads Choice Awards, and her traditionally published debut novel, We Who Will Die, releases with Avon in December 2025. Originally from New Zealand, Stacia Stark now lives in Chicago, which she adores during the summer and tolerates or flees during the winter. So what's it like during the winter, Stacia? Is it just cold?
It's cold. Here's the thing. It's not so much how cold it gets, it's the length of it, right? Like it just goes on and on. And so, yeah, like typically I'm fleeing back over to your side of the world at some point. Because it just...
Enough.
Yeah.
It gets in your bones after a while.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about how you got into writing and self-publishing in particular. What's your origin story?
Sure. I mean, like many authors, I always had a affinity for like writing. I was terrible at math and science, but anything requiring like an essay at school, I could, usually pull it out pretty well. And my brother actually sent over the other day a video from when we were kids, and I've got a terrible memory, so I don't remember any of this, but I'm showing off, one of those little books I'd made, which many authors, we were all writing our little books at the time, right? And so it was always kind of in me. And then my 20s, I spent working as a freelance copywriter. So I was writing sort of software development articles and blog posts and stuff like that for random companies. And I'd always kind of, had a book in me and knew that I wanted to write fiction at some point. But it really did feel like I was very much always comparing myself to, best-selling authors' finished products, which is what we do a lot of the time, right? And so the moment we try and write our own stuff, it can be very demoralizing and disheartening if you let it be, right? And I let it be that way for a solid decade. And then it got to the point where I was going to be moving to the States. I'd been living overseas. I was in Budapest at this point. And they I had a year before I had to move here. So I was kind of like, it's do or die. Once I'm over there, I'm paying health insurance, I'm paying, taxes, like all of these things. And I won't be frolicking anymore with all this time on my hands. So I was like, let's see what the market decides, which is what I love about indie publishing. I really saw it as a chance to almost learn how to write while I was giving it a go. And because there are no gatekeepers, it really is a case of you get that feedback and pretty instantly, right? With sales, data doesn't lie, right?
Yeah.
So true.
So when was that? When did you write that book?
So that was like 2018, 2019. I actually had an old pen name, and that was, the sort of me testing the market to sort of figure out if I could actually do this, if I could write. I always knew I wanted to write fantasy, and I loved urban fantasy especially, and romantasy. We didn't really call it that then as much, obviously. But yeah, and then by the time I moved here, I think it was around the time I saw Trudy at in Vegas. That was only, I think I moved here like that June. Then I saw you, and I think I was like 2 months out from publishing that first book. And it all kind of took off from there.
Nice.
Wow.
Okay. And
For
when
me,
did you get right into the romantasy? Like that was was that first book urban fantasy or was it romantasy?
No, so I my old pen name was actually sci-fi romance.
Okay.
And that was one thing I am really good at is kind of I have like I'm a the Clifton strengths. I'm a number one futuristic. And so I had my 5-year plan, as you can imagine. And so I knew that I would go all in on SFR and I was doing the book a month thing and just, really trying to learn how to write fast and tight. And I had chosen that genre very strategically, right? Like I knew, I always talk about the Venn diagram of what you want to write and what the market wants from you. And so I knew that I was really attracted to writing, very fierce heroines, the fish out of water trope, anything kind of, all fantasy adjacent, one would say. And so I knew that I would be able to sort of, have a career in that genre if it worked. And luckily enough that it was a very hungry genre at the time. And so I ended up burning out pretty bad. I had carpal tunnel surgery actually when I went back to New Zealand during the pandemic. And I get really bad like tendonitis, like my body was a wreck, right? And so it wasn't quite in my 5-year plan. Like it was a little bit early before I started, the Stacia pen name. But I was like, I had this idea, which was my first urban fantasy series. And I could see this woman talking to, this very attractive demon with wings. And she was a bounty hunter. And I knew I wanted to write it then. And I was so lucky because having the other pen name and having those royalties sort of trickle in while I launched a brand new pen name really allowed me to, to do that from scratch, essentially.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow.
Have you still got the other pen name or is that sort of fallen by the wayside?
No, I would have liked to, just because it feels like leaving money on the table. Do you know what I mean? It was like I was doing pretty well. But at the end of the day, you've just got to, it's prioritizing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
No,
sure.
that's cool.
100%.
Yeah. And so is this living the dream for you? This is what you always wanted to do? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's cool. So how say again, Cher?
Is it full time? Are you working?
Yeah. So I've been full time since I met Trudy. I took off very fast, and I was very fortunate with that. And so, the other thing is I had been also working for myself since I was 23. So I had that innate sense of like, get it done or you're starving, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so because I sort of trained myself that way, I did a lot better, I think, than a lot of people who are coming from that 9 to 5 because I was used to just like white knuckling my way through.
Yeah. It has to work. There is no option.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, because I was just going to say, what do you think it was that made you take off? But it's that experience you had maybe of the business aspects too. And I think that's a different mindset, a lot of us, not just the 9 to 5 thing, but the whole I'm in a business here and I need to make business decisions as well as, writing these amazing books. So
I mean, it's all very well and good to say we want to write, but there's a whole nother aspect of it, isn't it? The business side of it, it really is. I mean, when you, like you say, when you leave a 9 to 5 and then you just write a book and you think, oh, I'll put this up. And then it's like, oh, it's not selling. So what do I do now? Marketing, marketing.
Books are products. I will say though, I think a lot of the time we instantly turn to marketing and sometimes it is a marketing problem, but sometimes it's a book problem. And it's harder to look at that as the answer, right? It's like, oh, I've got a craft problem. Like I need to keep learning. So yeah, I definitely think like being able to sort of distance myself a little bit. I will say I'm very sensitive though. Like I don't really read reviews,
I think we're all like that, aren't we?
I was there in those days.
Yeah.
I think Cheryl was looking up and
I was just going to
how
say,
many?
you have a lot of reviews.
Yeah, like lots and lots and lots of reviews. So
Tens of thousands of reviews.
so anyone wants to go and have a look on Amazon. Yeah. So are you wide or KU? What's
I'm in KU. Now I'm obviously going to be hybrid, so that's a whole nother thing. But I I've stayed in KU the whole time.
Yeah. And were you ever tempted to go wide, or are you just happy being in
A
KU?
few times. I do a lot of the FOMO thing. You know, you're looking around and people are like, yeah, like I'm doing really well. For me, it didn't make sense with the old pen name because, you know, I had that strategy and I was like, get in, you know, figure out what you're doing and all of that. And then for the urban fantasy romance, it just felt like a KU series. And then, you know, once you've got the KU audience as well, you kind of want to use that as much as possible. Obviously there are pros and cons to being all in with Amazon. You know, we keep seeing the KENP rate drop. There are always the shenanigans and the algorithm and the ranking and all of that. But I do know people who got out years ago because the KENP rate dropped below their threshold, right? And some of them said that was a mistake. Like they could have, you know, looking back, they would have stayed in. But then I also know other people who do so much better wide because that's the kind of audience they've cultivated, right?
Yeah. It's kind of one of those, I don't know.
Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, like
It's so tough to know.
Yeah.
And you know, we all know going wide, that's a longer build, slower build than those whale readers in Amazon. So if you're going to go wide, you really got to stick at it. You can't just do it for sort of a few months.
Patient.
While
it builds.
Who's got patience though, right?
So do you do a newsletter? What kind of marketing or stuff do you have going for your series?
Yeah, so I've done that from the word go. I did you know, even that first book, it had the bonus scene. Every single book, I think, in that first pen name had a bonus scene that led to the newsletter. When I launched my new pen name, I actually did a free novella. And so I popped that, I think I ran Facebook ads to that. That people obviously got that. I had a very teeny tiny list before that first urban fantasy launched. But, you know, you've got people who are they've read that novella, which leads into this new series. So that helped a lot. And then when I shifted from the urban fantasy to the more high fantasy, which is the Kingdom of Lies series, I put the first 10 chapters of that book up and ran Facebook ads to that and got the sign-ups to that as well. And I mean, that first book, I think, had 150 pre-orders. And I was established in that genre, right? Not necessarily the high fantasy, but like I thought there was a lot more crossover than there really was between the urban fantasy romance and the high fantasy romance. And I think there's a lot more crossover now, but I had 9 books already before I launched that pen name. Before I launched that first book in the Kingdom of Lies series. So when you look at the way it grew, the way it launches it doesnn't really mean anything, you know?
Which is really good news for a lot of people, right? You know?
Yeah. So how did it grow? Like, was it, exponential word of mouth, or was there things that you were doing?
So it was, again, very to market. It's funny because I had, in my, 5-year, 10-year plan, this was supposed to be the series that just positioned me as a romantasy author. And I would then write another series that would be like the series that would hit. So like in my mind, I was like, this is just all about like branding, market position, letting this audience know about it. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't expect it to sort of take off the way that it did. But I will say it was still a slow build, and it really wasn't until the third book, I would say, came out that I was seeing like a lot more success with it.
Yeah. Interesting.
And do the books, so for those that aren't familiar with romantasy as opposed to maybe your sort of romantic journey in one book, does it follow the same couple through successive books? How does it work in romantasy?
Yeah, and so my the urban fantasy romance did that too. So that was one couple in the first series, and then an add-on book with one couple, and then I did the spin-off series, had 2 books with one couple and 1 with another. I don't know what I was doing. But the Kingdom of Lies series follows one couple all the way through, but there are, a few added point of views. And so we do see other, kind of romantic relationships as well.
Mhm.
Nice.
So let's move on to romantasy then. Like, so what is your definition of the romantasy genre? Like, how, what are the things that you have to include in there to make it romantasy?
This is a hard one because you ask, 10 romantasy authors and they're all going to say something different.
Yeah.
But, we need romance and we need fantasy. And what that looks like, the percentage of each will be different for every author and every book. So I try to keep to, a 50-50 split, but some books will be different within a series where, some I'm focusing more on the romance because that is the arc, and, the next book might be more plot heavy. And, obviously romantasy also has a lot of clear tropes that readers love to see. I think it gets a bad rap for being too tropey, but there are definitely so many tropes in all of these genres. But I definitely think one of the reasons it's so popular right now is because, typically with fantasy, it was kind of male dominated for a really long time. And when women were included in these books, often they were the plot device, right? They were the one that dies at the start of the book to get his hero's journey, or just the side love interest. But with romantasy, we get to see sort of fully fleshed out female characters who have, for whatever reason, have to go through this adventure. And not only are they finding love and having often great sex, but they're swinging a sword and saving the world, right?
Yeah, that's very cool. And so in my mind, romantasy is like epic or high fantasy. Do you think that's the case? Or do you think some of, like, maybe an urban fantasy romance would be
I
included?
consider urban fantasy romance to be romantasy. Some people don't. They see it more as like P&R. But, there's so much crossover between them. I like when I think of my series, the Deals with Demons series, it's set in Durham, North Carolina. We've got demons, fae, witches, werewolves, all of that. And it's like, if you took that out of Durham and put it into a second world, it would still have all of the tropes, all of the relationship, all of the same kind of romantasy elements. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think this is the problem with the genre too. Like, no one can agree on. It's the same as fantasy. The difference between fantasy romance and romantic fantasy, and then romantasy. Everyone's got different, slightly different definitions.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you, when you plot do you do everything beforehand, like build the world, plot it out, everything before you start writing?
Yes and no. I would consider myself like a plotster. I like, going by the seat of my pants. Unfortunately, that doesn't like me. So when I do it, I will end up with a lot more work on the back end, and I really don't like editing. So I have found now, especially with romantasy, when you are writing, these books are, 150,000 words. So it's like, and we've got 4 of them, say. So you really have to sort of know where you're going with that. And you want to set up the payoff in that last book of, something that happened in that first book, or the Easter egg in that second book, or, that feels so good to readers. So I think for me, I also have a terrible memory. So I have to kind of know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And with the romantic arc, so do you have the different, so you say romancing the beat, you've got your different romance beats. Are they spread out across the entire series rather than the one book?
Yeah, typically. So although, for me, like, my characters typically won't get together in the first book, but then, you look at Fourth Wing and they do. And she's got to get through 5 books with them firmly together. And, sort of just navigating the highs and lows of that relationship. I typically like to spread things out. I like a little bit more of a slow burn, particularly in the series I've got coming up. that was something that I felt really strongly about, because I like the tension and everything that gives us.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's very true. So you mentioned some of the particular tropes from Romantasy. Are there like 2 or 3 that you could mention that are like you have to have in a Romantasy for it to work, or
I don't know if you
your
have to
favorites?
have any of them. Honestly, some of my favorites, I love enemies to lovers. That is a huge theme across a lot of my books. It's just fun, you know. You can be quite humorous with it. There's a lot of like snappy dialogue, and good tension and everything. I really also like forced proximity, right? So even when people aren't enemies, if they just don't really want to be working together and have to, that's always fun as well. You know, the chosen one trope is like very common in Romantasy. I love that too. Obviously that's huge in a lot of other, you know, genres. I mean, I really like, in my books, I really like focusing on the female friendships. That's really important to me. So I really like deepening those characters and sort of making sure that the women don't feel sort of one note, you know.
Yeah, that's very cool. Because
What's the
as you
heat
say,
level?
sorry.
What's the heat level?
It depends on the series. So, and it's like, I'm like, how many chili peppers do I think versus how many someone else?
That's it. I was just going to say that none of us have been able to agree on that one either.
No.
So.
Right. I mean, it's definitely like it's open door, relatively explicit. They're not super long, typically. And I would say each book would have, you know, 2 to 3 sex scenes, which is why I get on my high horse when people talk shit about Romantasy, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you know, we're talking about a book that could be 500 or 600 pages. We've got, you know, 3, maybe 4 sex scenes, and then it just gets kind of labeled as smut, right? So don't
anything I think that anything labeled romance, no matter what the flavor, it's so easy for people, you know. We don't get the respect it deserves still.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So when you say 500 or 600 pages, how many words is that per book that you?
So the first book in that's coming out in December, for example, the Empire of Blood trilogy, that's called Where Who'll Die, and that came in at 150k.
Wow.
I'm writing a sequel right now, and book 2, it's a trilogy. When I give that to my agent for the first round of edits, it's going to be in the region of 185k.
How's the hands and the tendonitis holding up, Stacia?
It's the tip-in signing and stuff as well that I haven't excited, you know. But yeah, I mean, I've got a lot to do it. I've got a lot in three books, you know. Stuff's got to get done.
Yeah.
You dictate it all?
No, the accent, man. Like, I tried. When I had the carpal tunnel surgery, I bought this full, this very well-rated microphone. I bought a new laptop because apparently it was better for this one program. I did all of the things, right? And I just, because I hate editing as well, it's just not worth it to me, because what it picks up is always so, like, not what I'm intending. And because I was so focused on the editing, I never got to a place where it felt natural and I found my writing voice while I was speaking. I probably quit a little bit too early, honestly. I probably could have kept going, but it was just enraging me and taking all of the joy out of it.
Yeah, same. I've tried it many times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Dictation.
Oh, many times.
Many times. Do you think that marketing in Romantasy is different to other genres? Like when you were marketing a sci-fi romance or even just urban fantasy?
I think social media is a lot more important now in Romantasy, for sure. I don't handle any of it. I've got a team. But you know, we see a lot of the like character art is really big in Romantasy.
Yes.
We're constantly getting character art and working with different character artists. People love seeing that. And quite often we'll have like the character art with the different tropes kind of surrounding it, to just let people, as they're scrolling, sort of be like, oh, is that something I would be interested in? So I think there's definitely a lot more of that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Eh?
Do you have your own shop set up or anything like that? Or
We are doing merch right now. I have a business manager who oversees my assistant, and so she has taken on that project entirely, the merch. And so it's very nice for me. I just kind of go, yep, that looks good. And so that'll be up on the store kind of pretty soon, actually. That'll be launching, and we're only launching with like 4 pieces because she's very strategic and she's all about testing the market, right? So we'll see sort of what people want, and then sort of we'll probably do different merch drops. Every now and again, I'll put signed books up, and I'm talking maybe once or twice a year. Other than that, nothing really goes on like my actual store.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
So is it so in terms of, so you've got this business manager running social media presumably and other stuff, so are you able to simply write, or are you, I mean, I suppose there's management involved in looking after the people working for you, but
It's so much better than it would ever be without her, right? So she's actually my best friend, and she came on last January. So we're coming up, in a few months on 2 years. And she had run her own businesses in the past. She had done recruiting. She's insanely type A. And she's used to wrangling her ADHD bestie anyway, right? So that really helped. And she actually hired on my new assistant, and she hired her. She's not new now, but at the time she was, and trained her to her specifications, right? So it's like a well-oiled machine at this point. And she handles like, I do a lot of like book boxes. So they'll constantly be coming back with character art and stuff like that, and she'll either be approving the early ones or like being like, you need to approve this to me. She's handled all of the merch. She handled like the new website. Basically anything, any kind of project stuff, she project manages it. And so for like the social media, for example, she'll create the strategy and she'll tell Sav, my assistant, and then Sav will create the actual social media posts. And so that's typically how it will work. And she's very, very good at protecting my time, especially in the mornings. So when I'm not on deadline, typically, we'll try and get on a call once a week to just go over stuff. Otherwise, we have a app called Voxer, which is like a walkie-talkie app. And anything that we talk about on Voxer is work-related, and anything we talk about on WhatsApp is friendship-related.
Yeah,
and so that allows us.
like that separation. That's really important.
what do you put in your book boxes?
So they're not mine. They're like other companies. So like I've done Arcane Society. There are a few of them behind here. We've got a bunch. You can see some back there on my bookshelf. When that's always just different projects like that, right? Like they'll be coming to me with different things.
Just trying something new all the time. Yeah,
and like signings as well are huge. I've been doing a lot of them, and so Weena, her name's Christina. I call her Weena.
She loves that.
Well, she's very much used to it.
Is she a Kiwi as well?
No, she's American. So I met her when we were living in Guatemala over a decade ago. And,
wow.
She was my roommate, and so we've been very close ever since. But so she does, like, for signings, all of that. She handles all of it. Everything from even making sure we've got dinner reservations when we're there, and she knows where I've got to be if I'm doing a panel, which room it's in, all of that. And she also does like making sure, like, the drayage, like, you name it. We actually did a really big event at a Polycon this year, like a party, so you can sponsor and do like an event. And she did all of it.
Wow.
She it was like a huge undertaking, event planning. I literally just showed up wearing sequins and gave away, arcs of one of my books. So it was great.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think there's when we've had people on like yourself, often it is that friendship. Like I'm thinking of Stephanie Holmes as well. You know, she's the same sort of situation. It's a friend. It's such an intimate relationship that I think it's really hard to just, oh, I'll go to Fiverr and find somebody to do that for me. Like it's, you know, it's an enormous position of trust as well. So it becomes almost like a personal manager for you, really. And, you know, so yeah.
At the same
That's
time, like
awesome.
if I look at any of my other friends, like they wouldn't have been able to do it because she's so
Yes.
type A and she's
Yeah,
such
you've
a
got to have
learner.
that
She's
skill
such a high
set, right?
learner.
Yeah.
Right. And she learned the industry because I actually said to her at the time, I was like, you don't know the industry. And she was like, give me 3 months. And she knows all the lingo, she like everything. She just nailed it.
Yeah.
That's impressive. You're living the dream, man. That's what I want. I want something
I
like
mean, to be
organized.
fair, I'm still handling a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
But you're
And
making it
also,
sound very good.
it's true, but also on you is the pressure of now you've got 2 people on your payroll that you've got to meet, and that I think that's not often talked about too. And I've been in a position where I've had not in writing but in businesses, and that comes with pressure, and that people don't recognize it, and so I
So
think you've
much
got
pressure.
a lot of
And I
pressure.
mean, she is I pay her a premium salary because what she can get done in an hour is so much more than the average person would do, right?
Yeah.
And with her skill set and what she's doing for me, like it's worth it, right? But again, it's like that's a very particular skill level, and I'm very lucky. I think there are a lot of people who will call themselves business managers, but they may give advice, but they're not actually actioning anything, right?
Yeah.
And I needed someone rolling up their sleeves in my business. She'll even, if I'm not answering my email, she'll get into my business inbox and be like, you haven't answered this, right? She's CC'd in on various emails with my agent now that I'm trad and with Avon. So, she's right on in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another pair of eyes on the business, which is really helpful. Yeah. Awesome.
Got your best interests at heart too. My daughter
Totally.
is for me,
Right,
and it's the same
it's that
thing.
too.
That's it, right?
Yeah, my daughter's exactly the same, type A,
Yeah.
you know, focused. Mum, you've got to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, damn, I forgot about that.
I always joke with Weena. She'll tell me something to do, and I'm like, I just work here. Like,
that's what I say. Ask the boss. That's what I always say. Ask the boss.
Well, who would have known back in Guatemala when you were roomies, eh? How awesome is that?
Right.
Sometimes in life, these relationships are just meant to be. You just,
that's what we say.
Isn't that wonderful unfolding? That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yep.
Love it.
Okay, I've got one more question with regards to Romantasy, and then we can maybe talk a little bit about being hybrid, because that's a whole new exciting venture that you've obviously been dealing with. And really all I'm just thinking for Romantasy, is there anything else about writing a Romantasy or being in that genre that people might need to know about if they were someone new coming in and thinking they want to write a Romantasy or publish a Romantasy?
I think right now it is so competitive that you need to have something different to offer. You know, it's the days of like picking the tropes and all of that, they're gone. You have to have something new that you're bringing to the table, and your craft needs to be on point now if you want to stand out in Romantasy, which is great because it's forcing all of us to up level, right? But yeah, that's probably one thing I would say. And because it is so competitive, you know, you've got to love it. You really do. Like it's, and obviously that's the job, right? You don't want to do it if you don't love it anyway. But I think readers can really tell if you're phoning it in. And I mean, that's the same in any genre too.
Yeah.
100%.
Would you ever switch from Romantasy, or are you,
you know, I think I've always got various projects like tinkling away in there. I'd really like to write a dystopian one day. And you know, I think I'd like to write a like a thriller. You know, I've got all kinds of, or a romantic suspense, but like that's definitely not on the horizon right now.
Stick with the Romantasy.
We've all got those projects sitting on our Scrivener or whatever on our dashboard that we've started and just looked at occasionally.
Yeah. Very true. So the hybrid, you're now hybrid. You've got book number one coming out in December in New Zealand and
Yes.
Australia anyway. And um, so how did all that come about? Tell us the origin story of being hybrid.
Sure. So I was getting, I think probably around the time the second or third book in Kingdom of Lies was coming out, I started getting emails from what I initially thought were scammers saying they were from a publishing company overseas and they'd like to publish my books. And, once I started doing my due diligence instead of deleting, I was like, oh no, they actually, they exist. That's an actual company. And so I made a list of 5 agents, I think, that I sent out an email to with like my sales numbers. And I think the subject line was something along the lines of like offers on the table or something, right? To like grab their attention because I had people who wanted my books. Being in the position of like having that, I had 3 offers back and I went with my amazing agent, Kim. And she initially, I had never wanted to sell any kind of like trad rights, like English rights, right? It was all about the foreign. And so we did that, and then we ended up selling Kingdom of Lies to Michael Joseph, like Penguin Random House in the UK. So I am actually trad pubbed over there and in Australia and New Zealand, like on shelves there. But I kept the rest of the rights. And then around the same time, it was May last year, I went on on proposal with the idea for this trilogy. And it really was, I deliberated on it for a while, and it really was just a case of wanting to expand that audience, right? And, wanting to walk into my local Barnes & Noble and see my books.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I get it.
So we went on sub in like that May, and Avon bought the trilogy. So that was amazing, obviously. And it's really interesting though when you go on sub with like on proposal, basically I think I'd written the first 3 chapters and like a synopsis and sort of the tropes and stuff like that. So you're basically saying, hey, you guys, like I've got a really good idea. Do you want to pay me a lot of money and I'll write it, right?
Yeah.
But then once that's done, you've actually got to go and write it.
Yes,
So
of
it's
Scary. That would be scary, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
now we're
scary.
talking pressure.
right. Because you're talking it up and your agent's talking it up and, and so, yeah, like since then, that's sold to Germany, like a lot of foreign rights and stuff have been happening as well. So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
How long
Thank you.
how long was that process? So you started out in May last year, did it?
It was pretty quick, and funnily enough, so I was I had a week off between like projects that I was doing at the time. And I went to culinary school for a week, like down here in Chicago, because I can't cook. And because I'd lived in like a lot of developing countries in my 20s where, you'd go down and pay $1.50 and get the best Thai curry of your life,
Yeah.
right? Like I hadn't learned this skill set. So they had this boot camp that ran for a week, and it coincided perfectly with me being on sub. So that actually helped a lot because it meant that I wasn't sitting at home refreshing my email. It was a little bit stressful because every now and again I'd have to like take a call from my agent or something. And I was at that because it's a cooking class place, but it's also a shop in Lincoln Square here. And I met a friend for brunch there the other day and kind of walked past it. And I walked past this Starbucks where I remember sitting right before I had one of my classes, first thing in the morning, where I was talking to Laura, my editor now at Avon, and sort of giving her the spiel with my agent on the phone. And it all kind of happened very quickly. Yeah.
Right.
Love it.
That's cool.
It's
That
like a movie
Starbucks.
scene. You're at a cooking class, learning to cook. I love that in the Starbucks.
So
Awesome.
what have you learned about working with a traditional publisher? Has it been is it very different from being self-published, and how have you found
Yeah,
it?
I mean, things have to go up the chain. There's like so many more cooks in the kitchen. They can achieve a lot more on a grander scale than we can as indies, obviously, which is one of the reasons you want to tap them in when you do want to sell something like this. I've been very lucky. Avon have been amazing to work with. My editor's great. I will say it's been interesting in terms of I'm like a number 4 activator. So I'm like futuristic, achiever, competition, activator, focus. So I'm like, go, go, go.
Can I have
tired
those,
just
please?
hearing that.
So like when I want something done, it's like, and Wena's very much that way as well. So not as like crazy about it as I am, but she's like, why are we waiting for anything in any capacity? So we've both had to learn to accept that with trad, very often they're so overworked, and so it'll be like nothing. They need something, go, right? So it's just a different way of working, and Avon, I can't rave enough about them. They've been great to work with so far.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Have you had a chance to actually meet your editor in person at this point?
I'm actually going next month. So one of my friends is at an event in New York, and another author, and we're going to a few of clients of Kim. We some of us hang out here in Chicago, and we're going to meet her in person and have dinner. And then a few days later, I'll hang out with her and my editor as well. So I'm very excited.
Oh,
I'll probably go to the HarperCollins building and meet the team in person
amazing.
too.
That'll be exciting.
Awesome. So in terms of balancing that with your indie career, are there restrictions on when you can release and that kind of thing? Obviously, we don't need the details of the contract, but just in general terms, how do you balance the two now?
We negotiated that I could release anything related to the Kingdom of Lies series within, I think, 3 months of the trad book coming out.
Excellent.
So I released in, was it May last year? No, this year. What is time? I released the first book in Kingdom of Death, which follows one of the characters from Kingdom of Lies, and that's a duology. So that second book will come out in June next year, and it's been tough, to be honest. I can see now why trad authors are writing a book a year, because it's not just the writing. It's there are a lot of emails, a lot of decisions. Approving covers for overseas publishers, and just a lot that, signing tip-ins, all of that, events, all of that kind of stuff that takes up a lot of time. And my agent had kind of said, however busy you think you are now, just wait till this book comes out. So,
That's
awesome.
going to be interesting.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So that's it, right? That's the balance, isn't it? It's not just a matter of adding it. You've got to actually take away time in order to devote to that. So it's a
It is hard to
redistribution.
let go too. Yeah, when you're going trad, it's very hard to let it all go.
and I
All the
mean-
things you've always done. And then
Right. And it's funny that because I remember we got off a marketing call with the team, and I remember sending something to my agent, oh, we're going to do blah, blah, blah. And she was like, they can do that. They are willing to help you with that, right? But I think one of the good things about when indie authors go trad is we're not sitting on our behinds, right? We are hustling. We are doing everything we can do.
which we would normally do. Yeah,
Right,
to promote it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we're whereas I think a lot of authors who come in the trad route, I think that they can kind of feel almost a sense of helplessness because you're just at the mercy of your publisher. And the thing is, what the publishers do for you does impact the success of your book. The amount that they spend on marketing, to say otherwise is just a big fat lie, right?
Yeah.
There are lead titles and all of that and the politics of it all, right? But I do think we come into it with a lot more kind of, grit, maybe.
Yeah.
Just willing to roll up our sleeves.
Yeah.
Maybe even
We
just
know.
more of a knowledge of what you can do. Like, you know, if
And
your
what needs to
newbie
be done.
author
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
know what, you know, how to
Well,
do
not
Yeah.
least of all,
things.
you've got your own newsletter list. That's a
Yeah.
biggie as well, right?
Oh,
You've
yeah.
only got
Yeah.
fans. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that all helps as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have they got
Definitely.
the ebook and the print book rights? It's the
Yeah, so I sold all of it with this
Yeah.
trilogy, and
Yeah.
Michael Joseph picked it up over in the UK as well.
Mm.
So this is my first fully trad series.
Wow.
Awesome.
That'll
So
be interesting.
have you got any advice for authors who are thinking they'd like to become hybrid or want a trad deal? Like, was there anything that you did that you think, yeah, they should?
I think these days it's honestly very much like, because a lot of people want this, right? I think first of all, ask yourself what you're willing to give up. Would you only ever do foreign rights? Because some agents are not interested in any, because so many authors want that, right? There are some agents that will only handle foreign, so you know, doing your research is good. And then a lot of it is, are you selling at a level, honestly, that you think would grab people's attention? Like, what does that look like? Or do you think you've got a manuscript that would work really well trad that you could pitch, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you gotta,
You got to weigh it all up, hey?
Yeah.
What works for you?
Yeah, and it's such a personal decision. I know a lot of people who, I do know people who regret going trad. You know, it's not perfect. People have sold rights they shouldn't have sold. Other people, it's been the making of their career. It's everything they've ever wanted. They never really wanted to be indie. They wanted to be trad. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just so different for
It's
everyone.
a personal thing too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to weigh all of that up.
Yeah,
And even
you
just what
do.
you're talking about, like just knowing that some of your control will be taken away, but actually there might be other things that you get as a benefit. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the other thing I would say is your agent is the whole saying of it's better to have no agent than a bad agent is like exactly right. I remember the reason I chose Kim was she was so enthusiastic to the point that as a Kiwi, I was kind of like, what? Like, and I remember talking to, I think it was Elise Cover. She did consulting at the time, and I actually spoke to her about the process, and I was kind of like, because you know it's that tall poppy kind of thing, and we're like very humble, and if anyone shows too much kind of interest or enthusiasm, we're kind of like, what's happening?
Backing up.
Yeah.
But the best advice she gave me was, you want the person who is like a Labrador retriever basically for your books. Like, you want them to be so enthusiastic and so happy at the thought of taking you on. For me personally, it was also really important that I did that, like, she was going to be a straight talker. Like, I didn't want anyone who would kind of dance around things. I really just needed to know, like, and Kim's great at that. She'll just give it to me straight. And that's really, you know, you've got to know what you want in an agent.
Yeah, exactly. What is her surname? Sorry,
Kimberly Whalen.
Kimberly Whalen. Very cool.
Whalen Agency.
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome.
And I think the one thing that you had said there, I think is also important for anybody listening that's thinking of this track, is that you do your research. You look at their clients, you look at whether it's the agent or the publisher. You know, you can't just say, you know, give me a recommendation. You've actually got to do, because the person that works for one person might not necessarily work for somebody else. So
100%. Yeah. And I mean, you want someone, you never want to be like, or feel like, oh, their attention is elsewhere.
Yeah.
To be
fair, that happens a lot. I've seen that a lot with people.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of agents will just, it's like, I think of it as a spaghetti at the wall thing. You know, they'll take on a lot of clients just hoping to, you know, get their 15% off, but it's not the relationship that you want.
Honestly, I remember I was talking to another one of her clients recently, and we were like, where does she find the time? Like, we cannot understand where she finds the time to respond to us all so quickly and to like be handling all the different things. I don't know how the woman sleeps, honestly.
Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's a vampire.
Maybe she is a vampire. That's a good point,
I'm just putting it
That's
out
not
there.
weird. That's not weird at all.
That's not weird at all, no.
She's not a vampire. It's fine. I'm just kidding. So is there any advice, like, I don't know, to what to watch out for? I mean, other than making sure that you research, is there anything that you can?
Yeah, I mean, the contracts, right? So like you want to make sure you've got someone who's going, through the contract. You want someone who, especially being an indie, Kim was very much, I remember her telling me like, I'm never going to pressure you. Like, this is never like, I never want you to feel pressured. Like, it's always ultimately your decision. And so having that, someone who you can say, like, this is my line in the sand. I will never sell ebook rights to this series, right? Like, and they're like, yep, got it. We'll never even ask, right? Or like, I will never sell X to whatever it is. I think that that's like one of the most important things, because especially again, as a Kiwi, I'm not good at, sometimes sticking up for myself as much as I should.
Yeah.
Like advocating, or like I'm not great in conflict. And so I, just someone who's going to have your back, but never kind of be too pushy. But, again, that is, someone else might be like, no, I want someone to push me and tell me that I should sell that series if they think it's going to do well, right? So I think that the biggest thing is knowing exactly what you want for your career.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And figuring all that out. So what's been the best part of it for you? What have you enjoyed the most?
As like being hybrid, or
We can do both. Let's do hybrid first and then talk about indie. Yeah.
Well, it's hard because the book drops in a couple of months, right? So it's like, I feel like right now it's crazy because literally it feels like yesterday I was like, we're a year out. Can you guys believe we're a year out? It is really interesting, the longer time frames, like me finishing up the first draft of book 2 now, when book 1 is, not even out yet, is very different. I think I've really enjoyed the process with my editor. I think she's really like helped me. We've had more rounds of editing with that first book, and like really her suggestions to getting that 9-page edit letter with the compliment sandwich. Here's all the things that the questions, right? And all the questions in the manuscript, like very confronting, but I know that it's making me a better writer. So that was another reason why I wanted to go trad. Like, I wanted to be pushed, and I wanted to like upskill my craft in that way.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so what have you enjoyed about being indie? What's the best thing about being indie to you?
I mean, the flexibility, like I'm my own boss, all decisions are mine. I'm not waiting on anyone for anything. I'm not, all of the control. It's the control for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so I feel like we're running towards the end of our interview here. So what I'd really like to do is one last golden nugget of useful information that our audience might be able to take away.
We've just bled her dry, and now
and I need one more. One more.
It's 5:30 p.m. here. My brain's
right.
You know what? I think I'm going to say it's really important. One of the things that has been the most beneficial to me in this journey is having a great group of author friends, and for me, female author friends. I have people who, both indie and trad. Trudy, I remember meeting you. There was a woman standing next to me. She's still one of my closest author friends today. And so having those long-term friendships, because this is a tough job, and no one gets it except other people who do it, right?
Yeah.
And
100%.
not just the sounding board and someone to be like, oh, that publisher, like stay away from them, or like, hey, I've heard about this new ranking thing in Amazon, right? That has been, I don't know how I would have survived without having the friends that I do in the industry.
How did you find them, Stacia?
So Laura, who I met her at that conference, and then some of them we had a business manager back in the day before I began working with Weena, and we kind of met through that. A lot of like conferences. I met a lot of them that way, with trad. Some of it's been through agents and at signings. I think it really is just about like putting yourself out there
Out
and
there.
and being willing to like put your hand back and like help someone too. Like you're going to get a lot of goodwill and good karma as well. One of my friends, Ken Cole, she's also with Kim. She's known. She's just such an advocate for indies, and she'll tell you anything. You know, she's just so good at giving advice. So that's who, you know. That's what.
Good karma. Love it.
Yeah, that's very cool. And so if someone wants to look up you and your books or find you somewhere online, where's the best place to go?
I'm pretty like Instagram, and I would say, which is, I always get confused. So one of them's at Stacia Stark author, and I think TikTok is at author Stacia Stark, or like the other way around. I also have a group called Stark Society on Facebook, which has, you know, a bunch of readers in there, and on my website, staciastark.com, you can join my mailing list as well.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. And where can we be found, Shah?
We're not on TikTok. We are on Instagram at Spa Girls Podcast, and we're at spagirlspodcast.com. On YouTube, we are almost at 3,700 subscribers.
Wow.
Now, I feel it's timely to point out that there are 3 months of the year to go to the day. When I say to the 3 months till Christmas, and for my Christmas this year, I would like us to get to 4,000 subscribers
She's
on
doing
YouTube.
that again, eh? We went through
So
that.
if you would like to come along to YouTube, just
3,000.
Spa Girls Podcast is our handle
Begging.
there, and click on that subscribe us. You would make this particular
So
Spa
good.
Girl very, very happy.
You'd make us very
Awesome.
happy too, because we hear
Then
about
you
it.
wouldn't have to hear about
So,
it.
yeah,
We're happy if she's happy.
yeah, we're happy.
That's the way it works in the spa. We're happy if
Yeah.
Shah's happy.
Yeah,
We have
that's
no.
how it works. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Stacia.
Thank you,
It's
Stacia.
You've given
Thank
us
you for having
so
me.
much.
It's been great.
Yeah.
And can I just say, go Kiwi!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us for another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. We've enjoyed having you here with us. We'll be back again next week. But for now, farewell.
Bye.
Bye.